Mr. Fabricant, a very good evening to you, sir. Welcome.
Hello, James. Now, you should do what I do and don't bother to wear a jacket, and then you don't have to worry about whether it's matching or not.
Do you know, that's a really good point.
That's how he's made his career.
That's a very,
That's why
very good point.
Jeremy Kyle does that. I always wondered. Because he has got very sickly jackets.
Oh, shit. Anyway, why are you not out on Valentine's night?
Because nobody loves me, and I got a message saying, actually, one person does.
Oh, me.
And that was you, James.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I had to come on the
You
show.
should have come in then, shouldn't you?
Yeah, Michael, you're absolutely
Could have got
right.
some candles.
And we do love you. Now, listen, seeing that all the good MPs from the Tory party didn't get back in at the last election, can we see you joining Reform in the near future?
I don't think so.
Not necessarily no, though.
I don't
I
think
never
so.
rule anything out.
No, good.
That's basically a yes then.
Yeah.
No.
So, come on, you make the front pages of the papers tomorrow. 40% of young people, I thought it was more of Gen Z, are not proud to be British. What is wrong with some of the people in this country at the moment? Where else would you want to live?
But you know, I was thinking about this when it all came out. And in 1939, I think it was 1939, there was a Oxbridge Union debate. I think it was the Oxford Union.
Oh, that was the one you did, wasn't it? Yeah.
Probably.
And there was, would you fight for king and country? And the answer was no, we don't want to fight for king or country. And then when war broke out on September the 3rd, I think, 1939, they all joined up.
They had no choice.
Yeah, but we had a homogenous society then. We haven't got that. You'd be fighting for people who just come and stay in a 5-star hotel now. That's who you'd be fighting for.
That's part of the problem. And did you hear J.D. Vance?
Brilliant.
The deputy president, the vice president. I thought he was excellent, actually, in Germany, saying, you know, that the Europeans, as in the United States, have got to get their act together. Because otherwise, it's not just homogeneity that we'll lose in the UK. We'll lose the very, very spirit of what this country is all about.
And they weren't expecting that at the UN, were they?
No, we're being taken over. We are slowly, our culture is being removed by the, really use the wrong word there, by the idiots that we have in power at the moment. And we've got that David Lammy, pathetic, stupid man, who is apparently against the Prime Minister's wishes. I may have got this wrong, it's unlikely, is starting negotiations on reparation for slavery.
That's right.
Is
That's
he
right.
this
And in fact, there's some video, isn't there, of him talking about this. Sorry, Ash?
He is very stupid. I mean, we saw him on Mastermind. We've seen he doesn't really know anything about anything. He shouldn't be foreign minister, should he? But will that J.D. Vance speech have an effect? Because it's embarrassed Europe, isn't it? And Germany and us.
Ash,
will it change anything?
Ash, can we just shut up for a minute? I know you want to take over, but I'm still here. So just shut the flip up for a moment. Sorry about this, Michael.
Question.
The pertinent question at the moment is, how does somebody like Lammy get into a position like this, particularly after the way he behaved towards the President of the United States of America before? We are not going to pay reparations for slavery.
No.
Can't somebody actually say that officially? It is not going to happen.
And nor should we.
No,
because,
we shouldn't.
This country got rid of slavery long before other countries, long before the United States.
William
We
Wilberforce.
actually have a very good record in this country, and we shouldn't be ashamed, actually. And you can't use 21st century mores to judge what was going on in the 18th century, because that's just plain stupid.
But otherwise, you go back, we want reparations from Italy. I don't think they could afford it. And how on earth anybody can think it must go into trillions?
And why is it just us?
Idea.
I mean, it was bought from the West African slave markets. Are they going to be paying reparations? Why is it just people in Britain?
That's right. And in fact, the Arabs have a lot to answer for, because they were the slave traders.
Well, they took us slaves, didn't they?
They were actually the ones who went into the interior of Africa. They kidnapped young tribespeople, took them to the coast, East Coast as well as the West Coast, and sold them to the imperial countries.
And North Africa, there was
France,
villages on the
Holland,
coast in here and Ireland.
Netherlands.
They took emptied old villages in this country and took them to slavery. The North Africans,
Yeah.
the Barbary pirates. Yeah.
So why has David Lammy been allowed to keep leaking these ridiculously stupid things to the media?
Well, I think it's partly because I think that Keir Starmer hasn't really got control over any of his cabinet anymore. I mean, talking about incompetence, I mean, I've just been reading tomorrow's Times, which I think I can mention, given that you're all part of the same group.
I think you
And
can.
I love the Times, and it's more about the wonderful Rachel Reeves. So it now turns out, we've heard about all the huge sums of money. It now turns out that she claimed £29.93 for a bottle of Moet and Chandon, which she bought in order to give to a colleague for entertaining and incentives.
She bought a handbag for over
However-
£100 as well.
However, it then turns out that actually she forgot to give that bottle of Moet and Chandon champagne. Personally, I'm quite surprised she could get it as cheap as £29.93, but I suppose that was a few years ago.
Yeah, I
And
am.
it goes on. She apparently made a claim for sweet £9.40's worth of sweets for her team, £4.92 for biscuits, and for an away day. And how do you have an away day for £4.92? I really don't know.
Why would
And
you claim those amounts?
£1.34 for a birthday card, she claimed. No, I mean, this is worse, I think, than MP's expenses.
Yeah.
And talking about MP's expenses, we also learn that she and a number of other Labour MPs had their House of Commons credit card suspended because she wasn't using it properly, and she had to repay several £1,000s to the House of Commons before the card was reinstated.
So how
And this
can
is
she
the
be our
person who's looking
chancellor?
after all our money?
Yeah.
She's not fit in the job. I mean,
No.
why is she still in a job? Can he get rid of her? Because he's sort of very linked to the Prime Minister, the Chancellor. Once you get rid of the Chancellor, look what happened to Liz Truss.
Yeah, exactly.
So he can't, can he? Will he get rid of her in a shuffle? He'll have to, really.
Well, I also read in the Times, this is a good advert for the Times, I was also reading in the Times this morning that there's talk of there probably being a small targeted reshuffle, was the expression they used, a small targeted reshuffle, probably in the summer. So it'll be interesting to see whether Lammy lasts and whether Rachel Reeves lasts.
I want to say, listen, I've only ever been there once to the Caribbean, but it was just amazing. I'd love to go back, but I don't think I will be. But shortness of time, nothing else.
The wonderful thing about Barbados is that there are Waitrose supermarkets everywhere.
Well, I've not
is
been to
fantastic.
Barbados, but I went to Antigua.
I've never been.
And just the most beautiful place. If you believed in all this sort of stuff, you'd say heaven on earth. But we can't be paying trillions of pounds in reparations. In fact, my view is we should be cutting back the amount of overseas aid until we get our finances back on track.
Shouldn't we get reparations from all the other countries? Because we
we've
spent a
done
lot
that.
of our GDP. It wasn't cheap fighting all these other slave nations to reduce slavery. We should be getting compensation from them.
Okay. Can we talk about something sensible now?
And men killed, of course. Many men killed.
And that is about the Health Minister, Ashley Dalton. I'm sure you've heard of this. Ashley Dalton, this is a new Health Minister. Is it a she?
She's the one who says you can be a llama.
But apparently, and you can have a penis if you're a woman. Well, I mean, you can have a penis, but it wouldn't necessarily be yours.
Most have got the vaginas, or as Angela Rayner said, a growler.
Did she?
Yeah, that's what she said. She flashed a growler at Boris to put him off.
This is political correctness gone completely bad.
Yeah.
I mean, identifying as a cat, as someone decided to do on a bus the other day and using it as an excuse because cats apparently can travel free with that particular bus company. I mean, what on earth has wokery come to? It's just crazy.
Well, that's mental health issues. If you really think you're a llama or a cat, you really should be in a doctor and
but they don't, do they?
They
They
encourage
don't
it.
think
They encourage it.
A llama or a cat.
How have
They're
we
just
got
trying
to
it
this?
on. And wokery
situations.
started, let's remember, wokery started in order to protect the vulnerable. But because people have taken advantage of the whole thing, it means that the vulnerable now are even more vulnerable to attack than they were previously. And it's a very selfish thing to do.
When did it begin? Was it because I saw a David Frost interviewing Enoch Powell, and the audience and David Frost seemed to be the beginning of woke.
What happened?
David Frost was interviewing Enoch Powell after the Rivers of Blood speech, and everyone was having a go at Enoch Powell and the audience, and that seemed to be the beginning of wokery in the 60s.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
know
yeah.
about
David,
that.
well,
I mean,
Enoch Powell's speech.
What I'm concerned about, I don't know how you feel about this, Michael. What I'm concerned about is if we carry on the way we are at the moment, then some of these rather disgusting extreme right-wing organisations, like was mentioned earlier this week in one of the news channels, are going to get even more supporters. I don't want to see that. You know, I've been doing this since the 70s, and the 90s was a good time. In the 90s, people got on much better, and the first part of the 2000s. But we are heading for real trouble if our politicians don't start behaving properly. If they start saying, if you have any, you know, we're being invaded by a bunch of people across the channel who, if they had guns, would be deterred. They're coming in illegally, they're coming in boats. The vast majority of people are concerned about this, but politicians don't seem to be. And they're breaking into this country. And what they do, they break in, we put them in a hotel, we give them money and food and everything else. And everybody says, oh, well, I don't, you're just extremely right-wing. Well, I'm not right-wing.
That's how they stop you. But it's a charade, our government, isn't it?
And this accusation that if anyone says what you're saying, you know what? You're far right. This is the thing that Starmer likes saying, the far right. And what about the situation in Preston where it was actually covered up? That the guy, the perpetrator, was, you know, not actually... well, was he born in the UK? I'm not even sure.
He was,
was he born in the
Southport?
UK?
In Southport, the Welsh choir boy. But we've lost control of our democracy. The government aren't in control. The civil service, it's been captured from Tony Blair's shenanigans with the Supreme Court. You don't have sovereignty in Parliament. And as Dominic Cummings said, it's all a charade. It's all being decided. We've lost our democracy.
The problem is that things like what happened in Southport are going to happen more often.
Well, look at Germany.
Because of the rather stupid and thick people get carried away, as you say, in Germany. Look what they're doing now.
Sweden has a bombing every day in last month. Literally 30 days. It had one every day on average.
That's right. There's so much gang warfare now. And really, as you say, it's partly because there isn't the homogeneity anymore between people who used to live in this country and... You know, but having said that, we've got to be fair. A lot of people who do come to this country legally, you know, are decent, hard-working people. And the problem is that when you get people like we've been talking about behaving as they do, it then reflects very badly on another part of the population, which is unfair. And you know, it's unfair on them.
This whole thing about 40% of people not being proud that they're British. It's like they're giving up, so that some people from other cultures, other kinds of life, who have come to live here, whose cultures are beginning to take over, you know, their religions, the way they behave, are beginning to take over. We're going to talk to a guy. He was the first solicitor of the two thugs who... were involved in the Manchester.
They pleaded not guilty. But if you're 25...
That wasn't Keir Starmer protecting them then. It wasn't Keir Starmer defending them.
No.
But if you're 25 and you've only grown up since Tony Blair or after that, you're going to think this country's terrible, aren't you?
The great rule, and I've said this before, I think, on this programme, is that if you come to this country, you've got to adopt the ways of this country. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. And, you know, if you don't want to do that, then just don't come here. Don't try and convert the country to your ways.
Michael, just so you know, on this Valentine's evening, we love you very, very much, and hopefully we'll talk to you again fairly soon. Possibly when you've decided to join Reform, who knows, and we can get the first story.
Yeah, man.
Maybe we should just sort of leak it.
Yeah, let's just put it out anyway. Michael Fabricant says he'll join Reform in due course.
I didn't.
He sort of
Michael, good to
intimated
talk to
it.
you. Have a good weekend, my friend. Thank you very much indeed.